Second time round is a charm. Evening, afternoon, morning, folks, whenever you're watching or listening to this. Jer here at The View, and I'm joined today by some fantastic guests. We've got Kate from Leeds Bird Rants. Kate, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Jer. Yeah, feeling good about the Leeds at the moment. Yeah.
Good. We'll get into that. We've got Chris, who is a regular contributor now at the American Leeds podcast. Chris, how's things stateside?
Good. Yeah, it's hot. It's definitely hot out, but it's Friday, so can't complain.
Absolutely. Get outside in that heat as soon as you can, Chris. And we've got our tactical genius in the house, Lockie Leeds. Lockie, how you been, mate?
Yeah, I've been good. Been busy. Joe's been having me on every night, so I've been having fun there. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
I thought Joe was going to get exclusive rights to you at one point this week.
Joe just says, we're going live. Are you ready? But yeah.
All right, let's go.
Shout out to Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. I did ask Joe to come on, but he's working tonight as well. So, he won't be sneaking in the comments telling us we haven't given him an invite this week, but he'll hear this on the audio. We are doing this on two different sites. This is going up as a video on weekends now, and it will be a regular thing. We'll have different guests on. Some weeks it'll just be me, depending on people's schedules and who's available. But we'll be doing this as an audio as well, so it'll be available on Spotify going forward every week as well. So I was kind of putting the news on the Spotify stuff, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't sound right on audio, so we'll do the podcast once a week instead. So we've got a bit to get into though, and it's exciting times at Leeds. All of a sudden, the first domino fell, and since then, lots more seem to be on their way to falling over as well. But before we get into the news, I wanted to ask, just the training videos are all online from this week. The preseason started, everyone's back, and I wanted to start. Kate, we'll start with you. Any surprises pop up to you in the Leeds return to preseason? Anyone you've seen, you're kind of scratching your head about?
To be honest with you, I mean, I think I made my feelings totally clear, very clear about the people that I thought that were modelling the kit, which I thought was not good. But I won't go into that, Jer. But no, to be honest with you, I kind of expected it to be like that. I know there's some people that have reported for training that we haven't seen, the likes of Tyler Adams and people like that who are obviously still injured, Harrison and things, and obviously we're going to get into that. But generally speaking, no, I'm glad to see that who is he? Drama is in there, and some of the young guys as well. That fills me with hope that we're not going to be sort of overrun by the old guard as well. So no, it was came and went, and I was pretty cool with it, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a couple of people that were spotted that we can talk about at some point. Ian Pavade is back in training.
Oh, yes.
After a very event-filled season at Blackpool, being dropped by two different managers because of disciplinary reasons and leaving the club at one point after being dropped walking out the stadium. But as an Irish person, I know you don't cross Mick McCarthy that often, so made that mistake. Jamie Shackleton's been back in training as well. He's got a year left on his deal, and Lewis Bates back as well from Oxford as well. Done a really good season at Oxford and had a bit of an injury. Chris, your thoughts on the preseason stuff and what you've seen so far? Are you excited about the players you've seen that are back around, or where are you with this?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like Kate. A lot of it was predictable, but I do like seeing the young players there. I think there's been a concerted effort to kind of highlight Ritter a little bit more, kind of a campaign to really, I don't know if it's to try to instill confidence in him, get him some attention, and I hope he can turn that into a good, a good season for us if he ends up staying, and I think he will. It's weird. Like a lot of the players that got most of the minutes for us aren't there, so I think it probably poses more questions than it does answers at this point.
Yeah, it does. We got a few answers this week from Phil Hay around the likes of Jack Harrison and Sidney and Adams being missing. They're all back. They're back in training, but they're training alone because they're working back from injuries that they've picked up. Lockie, what's your take on the preseason stuff you've seen so far? Happy players you want to see go out with that group, or are you happy to see certain individuals back?
I think the one thing that stood out to me was, I know there's a few players that's come back, but how young the squad is.
Yeah.
Apart from obviously Ayling and Cooper were there, weren't they? But looking at the guys, when they were running and they were all behind them, I'm like, they're all teenagers. So we definitely need some good experience brought in, some players that played at that level. But having said that, looking at the young players, there's some really good ones as well. It's good to see them all there. It's good to see that, I think Darko, JB and a few others have come back early. That really shows their mentality. They really want to prove a point. So that can only be good for Leeds. But yeah, Yeah, I like it. Me again, I agree with Chris. Like on the road stuff, they're definitely showing him. I imagine, I hope anyway, he's had a chat with Farke and they're clear on what his role is. I hope, and he's agreed to stay and he's going to be his man. I hope anyway. But yeah, I'm all the way for it. It's all good fun.
He's kind of similar. We've only seen fits and starts of brother, but the kind of direct running that he does is kind of similar to what Timu Puki used to do for Norwich, and Farke thinks to like that kind of player, so he might fit in perfectly as a 9. But I think it should be said, before he came to Leeds, he didn't play as a number 9. He played as a wide player for the bulk of his career. He's played as a wide player, so it'll be interesting.
There was some talk of him. There was some. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, there was some talk of him doing that. There wasn't there, like of him being played down the right.
It was this thing that Victor Orta was doing, wasn't he? Every attacker Leeds were linked with had to be able to play in all positions across the front, up front to 10, wide left, wide right. And it was this kind of hodgepodge of players that could kind of play in every role up front, but not actually playing any specific dedicated roles there. So, but he keeps winking at people the way he's been winking in those videos at people in that camera. Everyone's going to fall in love with him. There'll be no issues. We love him, but in 6 months he'll be a star. So it'll be great to see. There was an interesting thing that I saw that like you just mentioned there about the warm up that they were doing, the jogging around the pitch, and the old guard were all at the front of it.
Yeah.
Now I know from when I played both sides when I was younger and when I was older. When pre-season comes around, there's always the young lads are keen to get to the front and set the pace, and it's very quickly set early on by the older players. Young lads get to the back. We are setting the pace, because the legs don't tend to be as fresh as the younger players, so they like to slow things down a little bit. And I thought that was interesting to see the older players taking the lead on that, or maybe it's the first 3 out the door. Maybe they're heading straight towards the exit.
Cynical, Jam.
I was kind of playing for you, Kay. I thought you'd enjoy it.
Don't even get me started. The young guys need to fight to get to the front of that line. I mean, look, I was kind of resigned this week to sort of. I'm not going to go on about it anymore. Natural selection will take its course. When certain people can't keep up and perform on the pitch, natural selection will take its course. And so the likes
are you
of
saying we should remove the warning labels from the water bottles and just let nature take its course? Is that what you're
saying? Yeah. So anyway, I think I don't think they'll be out front for much longer. A lot of them, personally.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, I'm leaving. Sorry, go for Lucky.
I was just going to say, I think from my experience of playing, that's normal at the start of the season. The old heads go at the front. You'll see by Christmas it'll be the other lads who've got more confidence playing every week. They'll be leading the runs for sure, I'd imagine.
I kind of want to see Cody Drama at the front there pushing his way through, going, right, I'm not waiting anymore. I've had enough waiting. Taking it now. I think it'll happen.
Although Ailing, look, having thought about it, Ailing will probably do okay in the Championship, but I still think Drama needs to be starting. He deserves it, I think. And listen, if we don't, he's going to go, isn't he? There's no point in him hanging around at Leeds playing second fiddle to Luke Ayling. He needs the promise of sort of being number 1, in my opinion.
I agree. At this stage, I agree. I think his agent hasn't always helped him with the stories that come out and the public kind of touting of him to other clubs. I don't think that ever helps him. But I think he has done the right way. He's gone off. He's done 2 loans now. Can't say that he hasn't gone down to divisions and got the minutes and got the experience that he needs. He's got a really good year at Cardiff, and then he's got a promotion under his belt now as well. So if ever there was a time for him to step in and take it, it's now. Ailing will be a solid deputy to have there then, a bit of experience, come on, a couple of minutes, can settle things down if the games are getting away from us. He can come on and do that as well. And he's still got legs in him for the Championship. I think Cooper is more of a behind the scenes, play the cup matches, come on for a couple of minutes when Leeds need to finish, seal out a game, put an extra defender on it. I think that's his role. And I hope that's their role. So I hope we move forward. We'll move on and we'll start about the first thing that happened this week. And that was the announcement of Daniel Farke as the new Leeds United manager, not head coach, manager. Now, he says there's not much difference between the two, except that he will be more involved in transfers than, say, a head coach would normally be. So back to kind of an older school model. Kate, your first thoughts on Daniel Farke now that's being confirmed?
I'm really happy with the guy. I think in every way, he's always had a good rep wherever he's come from. I haven't actually heard a bad word said against him, to be honest with you. I think he's a really good man manager from what I've heard, from the research I've done and talking to people. I had a Norwich guy on my show this week who absolutely said he is, in every way, you know, he's a good guy. He's tactically on it. Great man manager, disciplined. You know, insists on fitness. So what's not to like at this point in time? Obviously, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. Sort of come Christmas, it will be very interesting. But then at the same time, now that we've got him, I'm more prepared to give him a chance. So if we don't go up, as long as we can see an improvement in the football and we're working towards the end goal, if it doesn't happen at the end of this season, I will be cool with that. I'd rather see a polished end product than a quick fix. And I think with him, that's what we're going to get.
Yeah. He's everything he said in his press conference. I kind of watched it and listened to it. Not his press conference, the interview after the announcement. But he said all the right things. Kate touched on tactics there. Lucky, what are we looking at here from this man? Is it a tactical approach that we're going to be happy with as Leeds fans? And for anyone who hasn't seen it, Lucky has got a tactics video on Daniel Farke available on his channel. Go check that out as well. But are you happy with it, Lucky? Do you think we'll be happy with the football? And tactically, what should we expect?
I think first thing to say is it has to have the right players or it won't work.
Yeah.
That is one thing. So, yeah, like tactically, he plays out from the back. He'll keep possession. Overloads are a huge thing. Working in triangles, you know, midfielders need to be a certain type of player. The attacker needs to be clinical. The defenders have to be able to play with the ball. But I do. There's a bit of a press there, not as aggressive as Bielsa's, but there is an air of a press. But yeah, I genuinely believe the fans will love it if we get the right players in. And for me, it's that appointment in the Championship. I think it's the biggest statement in terms of managers. If I'm being honest, I don't mind what Leicester did. I think it could be a risk, but it could be a good one. You know, Southampton have gone for Martin again, unproven, but could be all right. But with Farke, for me, yeah, like the style of play is very attractive if you get the right players, and he's also got a good, I guess, the mental side of it as well. He likes to get everyone on board on the same page. So I think the fans will love him. I do agree with what Kate said, and I do think we will need to be patient. I think patience is going to be big. I actually believe we won't start that great, if I'm being honest. If you look at his record at most clubs, it takes him a while. Even when he got relegated from the Premier League, the start of the season after, when they dominated the league, they didn't start great. They won like 1 in 5 the first 5 games each time, I believe. So there is that could happen. But again, once it gets into the full flow of it, and it's very hard as a player. It's very deep. The tactics are quite complex. So once that gets going, I fully believe it'll be a really enjoyable prospect for everyone.
It's a tricky one because you're dead right about time and patience, but we've come off the back of a relegation with a very impatient Ellen Road, and the question is, will they be willing to give this team and these players, especially if some of the same players that were there last year are in that team, will they be willing to give them a chance to get in the full flow of it? He's not got a huge amount of time. The fact that we're in the Championship means the season is starting sooner, which means friendlies have to come earlier, which means pre-season is shorter. And I know from when I'm coaching, I think a good 6 to 9 week preseason is what you need in terms of getting players up to the level of fitness that you want them, and then getting your tactical side of it across. After your first preseason, 6 weeks is fine. 5-6 weeks you can do it because you've got your kind of tactical approach nailed down and how you want football to be played. But it's tricky when you're looking at it from a point of view. You've got 4 weeks. You've actually only got a week and then a game. You're missing players.
It's not long.
The internationals who aren't back till next week. Charlie Creswell probably won't back till the week after next because he's got the 1/21 European final on Saturday night. So he's not got all the players to work with. So you're probably looking at next week, he'll probably send a couple of players. I'd be shocked if he even goes to that game against Manchester United Norway. I would imagine it'll be the younger players or the players that were there this week that will go and take part, and then he'll work with the players that come back from international duty. But it's a tricky one in terms of timing. Will he get the time? Will the fans accept it? Because as you said, Lucky, when he gets going, it's good, but it does take time for a new manager. And there's going to be a lot of new players by the looks of things as well. That itself will take time to gel.
But I also think it's important to say as well, if you get the players he really wants, they will adapt quicker naturally because he's identified them anyway. So there's that balance, obviously. But yeah, it might take a while. And personally, at the moment, I'm willing to be a little bit patient. As long as we're competitive in games and I can see a way forward, like Kate said, obviously, I'll be all right with that.
Yeah. Chris, from an American standpoint, from the 49ers' first big decision at Leeds, how do you feel about that? Are they doing the right thing so far? Happy with it?
Yeah, I mean, from following that organization here in the States, I mean, I almost feel like if they had more time, they would have taken longer. not to say they wouldn't have came up with the same result, but I think we're getting a look at how they do business. Another aspect that's really similar to what they've done with the the American football team is just the appointment, going with a project versus a short-term deal where a lot of people are saying he can get us up, but then we'll look elsewhere. So I was pleasantly surprised they went with a project with him.
Me too.
And I like the fact that he came in and said I think he felt like this opportunity gave him the most leverage, probably. If you look at his past appointments, right, like everyone's talked about how he wasn't really backed financially at Norwich, and then Gladbach, he didn't really get a lot of time. Less than a year, I guess. But so I think he's looking at this as like, and he's probably grown from those appointments too, right? He's still young, younger than me, but I'm sure he's learned, and he has a really good idea of what he wants to do, and the fact that he's been given an opportunity to have a project versus just a short-term appointment really excites me, and I think it really excites him too. I think I think the 49ers will be patient based on what I know from how they've done business in the past. They've hired a young coach that's coaching their the 49ers team now. He's like going on his 6th season. So I think, it falls in line.
I was just going to add to that as well, Chris. So it's like we look at Bielsa. How good were we in his first season? We still didn't get promoted. Right? The year after, he got a few more of his players in, and they worked with him, and we absolutely tore the league apart. And in Farke's first season, they finished 13th, 14th.
Yeah.
The year after, they got 94 points. So they might. I'm not saying we'll be that 13th, 14th, but it might be around the playoff job. Top 3, 4, 5, maybe all season potentially. But for me, if I do see what I saw at Norwich and what Norwich fans are saying, just be a little patient, and you will reap the rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to imagine he had a checklist, and it was, I need the financial backing. I need the players, like you said, Lockie. I need the right players in my system. So I need you to go and get them for me. And then I need time. If you want a system that works, getting the players, especially coming off relegation, like you mentioned, he's got to get them back into the right headspace. That takes time. So I agree with Kate too. It's as long as you see measures of, incremental progress, success, it's going to be hard to convince the fans, of course. It's points or else. But I think the 49ers they'll shut that out. They'll be patient.
They seem to be good at that. They seem to be very good at ignoring the noise.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have taken it if he didn't get that from them.
Yeah. There's some very interesting parallels between what the 49ers did with the San Francisco 49ers job with Shanahan. They took 31 days and to hire him. They took 32 days to hire the manager for Leeds. From when Sam Allardyce left to Farke leaving was 32 days on the nose. So there's a lot of similar traits there as well. They've gone with a 4-year contract, which is a record length contract for any Leeds manager or head coach. No manager's ever gotten a 4-year deal at Leeds. So there's a real statement of intent, as in our faith is in Farke. We believe in this. We think it's going to work with us for a couple of years. Also, the difference, I think, there's a couple of small differences with the Norwich thing. There are players at Leeds who played Bielsa ball who will be familiar with that style that Farke would like to play, a very high-paced tempo, passing, consistently moving off the ball, passing game with high press. They'll be used to that, whether they like it or not. It's a different thing. If you believe the rumors that the senior players weren't happy with the Bielsa stuff towards the end and kind of pushed for Bielsa to be removed, they got what they wanted. Look what happened, and you wonder now where they kind of sitting back going, "Okay, yeah, we got that wrong. Let's fall in line here now and get this done." So,
I think the level of detail as well that I've heard, Farke goes into about. I can't remember the guy's name, but I mentioned it the other night. He brought in a left back at Norwich, and he actually gave him a dossier of to the nth degree of how he was his roles and responsibilities and how he's expected to play, and they were drilled. He was drilled into him within an inch of his life how he had to play repeatedly, week in, week out, training. And I think that That is amazing. That sort of, single-minded focus that he's got on every single position. What's not to like? And the fact that the old guard might, get a little bit like, I see you. Do you know what I mean? You don't like the heat.
Responsibility on the players too, right, Kate? Like,
of course.
He's saying you have to learn this. And if you don't, you won't play. You have to,
exactly.
we're gonna test you, and that's not just on the field, but what's up here.
Exactly.
Full buy-in. It's absolute full buy-in. I love
know the playbook.
Exactly, and I love hearing the word. The word dossier has been overused so much in the last couple of weeks. I think it'll be overused the next one. But I keep remembering certain things. Like you go back to when Don Reedy managed Leeds, and he had these dossiers that he produced for players going into the next. He's the first manager to ever do that. He produced these things. It was the set pieces. It was, details on players that were going to be playing against ahead of his time. Bielsa, we saw the press conference for Spygate. He had mountains of dossiers that he gave to players. super. And now you've got Farke coming in. You're hearing the same things. So if we can follow that,
dossiers though, if that's what it produces, Bielsa.
Yeah, you take that every day of the week. But I like where it's going. And I get giddy at this stage of the season, so I get super positive.
Me too.
And then by Christmas, I'm screaming the house down. But it's it's a positive start. Things have also started to move away from that so far. Actually, before we get to the players, new training kits have been announced. A new sponsor. Leeds made a fantastic move of moving away from a gambling shirt sponsor 2 years before they had to, and bringing Boxed in as the front of shirt sponsor. I don't know if that was a Leeds decision or an SBO top decision, because they then all of a sudden jumped to Fulham, who are in the Premier League, after saying that they wanted to continue their partnership with Leeds on the sleeve going in after the ban kicks in. That obviously has fallen through. And we've got a brand new, after the brilliantness of, not a word, but after the brilliantness of that decision, Leeds then followed up by sticking a gambling sponsor on their training gear in Unibet, which kind of takes away all the good work and drops it back into that again.
That's not going to be. That's not on the public shirts, is it? That's only on the kit shirt.
But I'd be surprised if it's not on the training gear once the first set of training gear has kind of gone through.
Really?
Well, last year it was, and the year we got promoted with Unibet as well, and that was on the training gear as well.
I hope it is.
I think they announced it late. I think it was done after the production of the first set of training gear was done, because none of it has sponsors on it. But you'd imagine it will in a couple of weeks' time. The interesting thing about it is, Kate, what are your thoughts on it? Because we've got a lovely blue, royal blue, navy blue, and mint green in the, I suppose, the home training gear or the players' training gear. And then the manager's kit is a green with mint green sleeves. How are you feeling about this, Kate? I saw your stuff on Twitter. I'm dying to get your take on this.
I know. Look, I love green. It's actually one of my favorite colors. I love it. But I don't like mint. I don't like mint green. That's the only shade of green that I don't like. And to have, if it had just been that green, like the darker one, I would have got it. But it's not, and I don't think it suits Daniel Farke either. I think so. It doesn't, does it?
He wears all black and then this bright green. Yeah.
Oh, I know. He looks like, I don't know. But anyway, I like the blue one. I think the blue one's really, really nice. So I will be, I'll be buying the blue. I won't be buying the green.
I may have bought it already.
Unlike yourself, Roger.
You want to say it again?
Yeah, unlike yourself, he's bought the green, right?
I had to buy it. I had to. I'm an Irishman with a green Leeds.
Yeah, of course.
You like that gray? You like that gray one too, the hoodie, right?
Oh, I love the gray one. Yeah. But
the grey one's awesome.
I haven't seen that one though. I saw a picture shared of the grey one, and then I haven't seen it released.
I think that was in JD Sport. I don't think it was in the club shop.
Interesting.
See, I live in Manchester, so
my God,
can't really wear it outside, so I've got to keep them in the closet.
Are you okay there, Lucky? Do you need to talk about it? Are you?
Do you know what? Right, I know that
you can come out. It's fine.
Most people in Manchester are City fans. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah.
So we'll put that one to bed. But yeah,
it must be a very small population in Manchester then, because they don't get a whole lot of people, do they? Joke. We get into the players then. So we've seen movement. Things have started to roll, and the first roll out the door is Robin Koch, who has completed his loan to Eintracht Frankfurt on a season-long loan. Leeds received a €500,000 loan fee as part of the deal. This will bring Robin Koch up to the end of his contract, so it's the last we'll see of Robin Koch. Leeds seem to be pretty keen to move on as well. There was cherry pickers outside Ellen Road this morning removing his poster from the front of the stadium. I'm assuming they were removing all the posters from the front of the stadium, but they just pictured the Robin Koch one coming down.
Someone said Brendan. Sorry, someone posted Brendan Aronson's is coming down too. It'll just fall over. They don't even have to sink it.
Someone just brush past it; it'll fall over. Yeah.
that bit of wind? Just caught the corner and off he flew.
Yeah, sorry. I thought that was funny.
That's excellent, Chris. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. That's brilliant. How do we feel about actually start with Lockie. Lockie, how do you feel about Robin Koch's departure?
I'll be honest, nothing. Fine. Like it's not even like I know I don't agree with people sending him abuse on the thing. Like, it is what it is, isn't it? But yeah, it never really settled at Leeds. I think always the first few seasons he was injured a lot, wasn't he? He was never in the team. You know, he's clearly got a bit of quality somewhere, but I just don't think it worked with us. I think that's obvious. You know, getting Germany call-ups it's not easy, is it? But it just didn't work for Leeds in the Premier League. I actually think he'll do quite well at his new club. I think it'll suit him better. But yeah, never really got a connection with Robin Koch. He was always out injured or something like that. And then this season just wasn't very good, but neither was anyone. So I'm all right with him leaving. Yeah, I think if he's not here, he wants to leave. Farke's obviously given the green light. He's all right with it. So bring in who he wants, I guess.
Yeah, Kate, where's your head at with this?
Yeah,
I'll probably the first of probably several loans that go out of the club.
Yeah.
The whole loan thing. I mean, yeah. But look, in terms of him leaving, same as Lockie. You know, I can't. Doesn't bother me. I'm quite more than happy to see him go. He's didn't really perform. Stale. He needs a new club. He needs something to get his teeth into. Clearly wasn't sort of fitting in at Leeds really particularly well. I was never impressed with him. So yeah, absolutely. Goodbye. Is 500 grand? I mean, what's that in terms of his?
Not a lot. His wages are being paid in full by Eintracht Frankfurt, so at least he's gone off the books completely in terms of that.
Yeah.
Chris, are you worried about the volume of exits we're likely to see? We've got Mark Rocket and Junior Firpo who are supposed to be heading off to Betis pretty soon. We've got Diego Llorente tonight being confirmed as a straight up loan, no fee. No option or obligation to buy. There will be a loan fee included in that. And Rasmus Christensen, also Roma are looking to make that a straight up loan with no obligation or option to buy as well, which would see both those players come back to Leeds at the end of the season, but they will be part of this mass exodus of players from last season. How do you feel about that? You worried at all about it?
Two things. I think the first one, I think right after the season, I already just in my head, I had accepted that they're all going to go. So if any of them do stay, it's more surprising than them leaving. But I think it's just the order of things. You know, we're not in a position right now at this moment to sign. I mean, we are, but we're not signing players at this moment. So all the news is about outgoings. The order was reversed, and we were getting news about players incoming, and then players were leaving. I think it would be different, but I think people get worried because the order of it. But I think it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm not really.
So I
think Farke. Sorry, I was just going to say quickly. I just think Farke just wants anyone that doesn't want to be there, just go. I think he's made that clear. He wants the squad he wants right there. No one else, I think.
I like that. I mean, the comments he made himself. We've got quick decisions to make around staff and players, which within the space of 12 hours, we saw Paco Gallardo leave the under-21 role after only 1 year at the club. We saw Scubala go back into that role, which I'm really happy about. We've seen Marcus Abad leave as goalkeeping coach, which you could argue could be a good thing as well. He's a nice guy, Marcus, and he did a job for Leeds for the last 6 years. But it's clear that Farke wants his own people in there. It's not confirmed who the goalkeeping coach is going to be, although Fabian Ota has been linked as his preferred choice, but he's still under contract at Gladbach. And then we're seeing the player stuff turn around. So the outgoings that were happening, we knew that these players were going to be leaving. We've heard a lot of noise in the last couple of weeks. And then we're coming into this week going, are we going to sign anybody? And Phil Hay has done a piece with The Athletic that seems to be opening the door of actually, and the words he used were, he has been told players have agreed to sign for Leeds and are ready to go. So we could see a situation next week where several players sign pretty much in a quick fire. Like, I don't think we've seen that since the championship, the last time we were in the championship or League One, where we signed 2 or 3 players in the same day. It was like they all came in the same day. They were all unveiled at the same time, and then we moved on. But there's a lot of players. We'll break these down into positions. And we'll start off with the left back position. And Ryan Manning is the one that keeps being popped up. But today, Charlie Taylor was also linked with a return to Leeds United after a controversial exit several years ago. Played the bulk of last season as a centre back and not at left back. When it comes to the left back position, Kate, where are your preferences on this? And then what are your thoughts around the potential of Charlie Taylor coming back to Leeds?
This is a difficult one, isn't it? Because I only heard about Charlie Taylor tonight as well. Ryan Manning, I think if we can get him, absolutely. Charlie Taylor, I think he's you see, if you go back to what he did, and the fact that, he has apologized retrospectively, and he has said he was ill-advised, and depends how you feel about that, in the long term. Pretty good left back though, and would it make sense to have both of them there? Is that something that we could do?
Manning's not going to cost you anything. He's a free transfer.
Pardon?
Manning's not going to cost you anything.
Yeah, I know.
Free transfer. So you're only paying for one. You could do two.
Yeah.
Possibly. We don't have cover there. So
I think we need, I think we could do with depth in left back. We cannot be in a situation like we have been, where we've been floundering around for left backs at all. We need depth in that. Well, we need depth in every position, but particularly that jumps out for everyone to see. So yeah, I'd be happy with Ryan Manning coming in as primary, and maybe sort of, Charlie Taylor coming in, behind him. I don't know. I'm not a football scout, Lockie, am I? Do you agree?
No, I fully agree, Kate. Yeah, I think Manning's season last year in the Championship was it was phenomenal. Like, he was by far the best left back in the league. See, in Farke's system as well, the fullbacks are very important. Not necessarily, I'll speak on Joshua, they're not necessarily the most important to get goals and assists. They will chip in with that, but they're more of progression, getting the ball forward, keeping the ball, giving the ball to the players who get the assist, if that makes sense. They're that type of people. Also, they have to be extremely fit to get up and down. So Ryan Manning seemingly is that. Charlie Taylor's interesting. Take away all the controversial stuff. As a player, I'd be interested if it is fullback, or if they're trying to looking at that centre-back option, because on the ball, he's very solid, and he's fairly quick for if he's at centre-back, which is what is needed in the Farke system, a quick centre-back. So that is an interesting one. But as a fullback, I would obviously prefer Ryan Manning. I think it's a statement as well if you can get him. Yeah, it'd be excellent, obviously, for Leeds. But that's if we can see away the Premier League competition, I guess.
It's an interesting point that you make. I've made my thoughts on Charlie Taylor coming back pretty clear. Same agent as Sam Byram. Sam Byram the year before, the agent was very active, very vocal about getting Sam a move, to the point where he left. And then we had Charlie Taylor the following year, who they all wanted Premier League moves. They weren't willing to wait to get there with Leeds, and they all moved. The refusing to play for Leeds in the final game of the season against Wigan. People can debate it or not. But
very young though, Joe, wasn't he? He was very, very young, and he was very young. And he's come out and said, "I was young, I was naive, I was stupid."
Yeah, and that's fair if he has done that. Lucky, you're going to say something there?
I was going to say, right, Joe said this, we're all fickle. If he came in and played really well,
exactly.
Of course.
Yeah. But I do know what you're coming from. I don't know much about that situation. So
he may have learned from.
He was young, and he may have. Yeah, and that's
rehabilitated, yeah.
That's absolutely fair. I'd like to see him say something like that publicly, but if that is the case, but if he comes back to Leeds, maybe he will say it, and that's okay. And as you've said, we are fickle. So if he does come back and play really well, I'm slightly more interested now, Lucky, after you saying, are we looking at him as a left back, or are we looking at him as a centre back? Because that's an intriguing possibility. That's like, right, you've got cover down for the left centre back position. You've got Pascal Stroke there as well. Taylor's won the championship playing that position with Burnley. Not sure why Burnley don't want to hang on to him if you can help get them up. I don't know what they're thinking is moving him on so quickly after promotion. But if he did come in and do well, I mean, I would look, if he signed for Leeds, I'm not going to be the kind of person that's going to say, get him out of the club, I don't want him here. Like, I'm not. If he does come back to Leeds, and if the water is going to the bridge, of course I'll give him a chance to sort things out. But I don't know where I am on this. Chris, where's your head at with the Charlie Taylor stuff? Was that before your time, or is that around?
Yeah, it's before my time, but I think just you're right. It's pretty split. I think in principle, I agree with you, Jer, but fans are forgiving. Once you start winning, they are forgiving. They have a short memory. So yeah, and it goes back to trust. Do you trust the manager? Do you trust the board? They're going to be looking at all this. They'll know the history. They'll know what the issues were, and ultimately they decide who's coming in. So yeah,
it'll be an interesting one to happen again. I'd love Manning. I'd love Ryan Manning. I think that'd be a smart move. I mean, if you got
as long as it's not Joel Robles playing left back, that's probably what we would have gotten. Yeah.
I'd be happy with him just signing a contract for a year and coming back and giving us a dig. No goalkeeper right now, bar Danny Van de Heuvel.
I just want a proper left back.
Me too.
Has the attributes that'll fit the system.
Yeah. So, I was going to say, I feel sorry for Danny Van de Heuvel. He's currently standing somewhere in Torp Arch with no goalkeeping coach and no goalkeepers around him, just in there on his own. You know,
we're getting fit though, If we main team, what he doing all fitness stuff, probably regretting every second.
Just all the lads getting back together and jogging around the pitch, and poor Danny Van de Heuvel standing in a goal on his own going, stand here, then, haven't we? We move on then into the midfield positions, which we know is a huge position for Leeds to get right this year. McKennie is gone, Adams is injured, possibly could be gone. Forshaw has been offered a reduced deal, but hasn't come back just yet to the club. So that's interesting. Neither has Joe Robles just yet. And they were invited back this week, but they haven't. Not visible anyway. They're not visible in the squad training pictures. So Leeds are going to need to look at getting the midfield sorted. And if they're going to have a chance of winning anything this year, or having a real push on this, they're going to need to have a strong spine of their team. Midfield, back two, middle two, and the 10 and 9 are going to be massively important on this. Currently, as of today, the players that were mentioned by Phil Hay, Gustavo Hamer at Coventry, or Hamer, who had an incredible season last year at Coventry. Noah Masango, who's had a very good season at Bristol City as well and is out of contract at the end of this season. And Sam Field from QPR have all been mentioned. Chris, how are you feeling about the caliber of player being linked with Leeds, and where's your head at with these lads that are being mentioned with Leeds?
I'm excited. Hamer's really exciting to me. And then Masango, is that how you say it? I call him H&M, just his initials, but easier that way. He reminded me a little bit of Tyler, just in his style. He had a destroyer, fearless, welcomes the contact. Just and these are all, obviously we're all looking at highlights and stuff, but just his style of play. But he also has that ability to press the ball. Looking at some of his stats, his profile. I actually looked at like the scouting report on him, and how they do comps with other players. And as an American, they compared him to Yunus Musa, and he's a player I really, really rate highly. But he was in that category. So yeah, I really liked him a lot. I was excited about him, and if Tyler does leave, maybe he would get a chance to fill that role. But the number 10 is what I'm keeping my eye open for. And I also I'll just throw this out here because I've been thinking about that position. We have like concrete links now to, the 9, the midfield, defensive midfield, center backs, goalkeepers. We haven't really had a solid link to a 10 yet, other than what Lockie's put out, which was amazing. I got a little trouble with my wife because I was spending way too much time watching all his videos, but we haven't had any concrete links with that. And I'm like, I think that's such a pivotal position in Farke's system that they will take some more time. I think they'll be pretty thorough. I think they really, really want to get that one right. So who knows where they're at with that position, but
it's one they need. It's one they need to get.
It's pivotal for the attack. So pretty exciting.
Lockie, what's your thoughts on the midfield names being mentioned?
I really like Masango. Has I said that right? Masango. It's similar, isn't it? Yeah. I really like him. I think he came in, I think he was 18, 17 when he went to Bristol. Very highly rated. Played 99 games for them in I think 3 to 4 years. Last year he had, I think he fell out with Nigel Pearson, the coach. I believe it's not so clear, but he wasn't playing.
It's an easy thing to do with Nigel Pearson.
Exactly. Yeah. So that, and then he went on loan in France. The team he was at got relegated, but played every game there. Played quite well as well. His stock went up a little bit. Out of contracts, free transfer with I think a compensation fee. Yeah, like Chris said, Tyler Adams definitely. I think
even the hair.
The hair's brilliant. Yeah, just getting for the hair. Honestly, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, that getting him on a free and obviously mixing him with Gustavo Hamer, who is the man, isn't he? Let's be honest. Anyone who gets him is probably odds-on favourite to go up, if I'm being honest, because he is the man in the Championship who everyone wants. So if you can mix them around, and obviously Sam Field's a decent option, but I really like Masango and Hamer. If you could get them to your midfield with Darko JB on the bench, Archie Gray, Forshaw in and about the place, it's a good midfield. Yeah. And just on the 10, just really quickly as well. I think the 10 thing is going to be either someone from another country, probably Bundesliga, Spain, hopefully, or a loan. Obviously, loans tend to take time because managers want to see the whole squad back at training first, don't they? So I've got my hopes up on Oscar Bob, as Chris will know, watching a video from City, but that's another time. But yeah, the 10 will take longer. I think.
Who's that again? Okay,
Oscar Bob. He's the player of the year for the.
Oscar Bob. Yeah.
Are we allowed to find Man City players? I thought that was what Southampton did.
Yeah, Southampton and Leicester now. We'll be all after
on that, haven't they?
Yeah, no, well, I know. Shea Charles for 9 million.
I know, right?
But yeah, I think it's crazy. But I think, the 10 will come after, I think, because I think that's going to be a harder sell. I think that might be a top player, if I'm being honest.
Shea Charles was somebody we were linked with in January. We were looking at
very good player.
Charles this year. Very good player. He captained their underage team. I think he's a very good player.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about the standard of player we've been linked with in the middle of the park? And are you happy with that, or is there anybody you would think we should be looking for that we're not mentioned with?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm kind of like new to looking at these. I haven't really had time to look at them in depth, but I did hear today that they, from Phil Hay, my buddy, reckons that they really think they might be in with a chance of keeping Tyler Adams.
Yeah,
and that would be and literally to build a squad around him. And also another one that we're mentioning today was Wobra as well.
There's a couple there. We get to them in a minute because I do want to ask your thoughts on the retentions. From an attacking perspective, Kate, Joel Perreault and Sam Sturridge. Joel Perreault seems like Joel Perreault is the number one move for Leeds. They've been mentioned today with a couple of different places saying that Leeds have gone back in for him and Leeds feel confident they can get a deal done to get the striker who would very much fit the style of player that Farke likes in that number 9 role and can drop deeper as well. And then it looks like Sam Sturridge is possibly a backup option, but I don't see the point in Sam Sturridge, if I'm being honest, because he's a young up-and-coming striker. He's 24. We've got plenty of them.
Absolutely. And didn't really do much last season, did he?
Couple of guys, I think got 8 goals and 30-something appearances for Forest total.
Did he?
Yeah, total. I think his games off the bench maybe it's less.
Oh, right,
yeah.
Premier League, 1 goal, no assist.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So I don't see the point of him either, to be honest with you. I think if we're gonna, if we're going to, I don't know, go down that road, there are plenty of better options, really, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. Pardon?
Would you be excited with Joel Perreault if we could get that done?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Why not? Do we stand any chance of getting him? Do you reckon? It's going to be a hard sell, I think.
20 million,
especially if you get him. If you outbid Leicester and get him from, because I know they want him too. So
yeah, Leicester are the favourites to get him, and our Leeds have come in, but Swansea have set a price of 20 million price tag on his head. I mean, if you look at the players Leeds have been linked with, and Lucky, I'd love your take on this. These are going to cost money. Ryan Manning is free, fair enough. But you could be looking at 10 million for Gustavo Hamer, slightly more than 10, potentially in around that. Joe Perreault is going to cost 20 million. That's just 2 positions filled. If you go into the goalkeeping positions, they're going to have to put a fee for Carl Darlow if they are going after Carl Darlow. That's going to cost money as well. The centre back positions they've looked at as well. Like these are not. Nat Phillips is going to cost 10 million. You're looking at 50 million there.
Yeah,
without stretching.
Yeah, it's that risk, isn't it? I think 49ers, it's weird because the Farke thing, you'd imagine it could take a bit longer than maybe a season potentially, but then actually when you think about it, like I said earlier, like we all said earlier, actually, if you get the right players in for him and they're already good enough, you know what I mean? They already understand, then you will dominate that league. And if you get a player like Hamer and Perreault, who are just top anyway, regardless of if they fit in the system, and you can feed the other players around them. I just think the risk is then, you have to get up, basically. Yeah. The more you spend, you have to get up. Maybe it might be over they'll pay the fee of the 4 years or whatever the contract is worth. So if you do get up, then it's a statement. If you can get Perreault and Hamer, like just them two in one will win you the market, really. If you can get a few frees around there, with Ryan Manning on a free, Masengo on a free, and a few loans, it's really good. But with a Sturridge one, I think, I don't know if it's just a name. I'm not sure. Maybe one that's available. Yeah, I find it weird. I think actually as an impact sub, he did quite well last season. Championship season.
Yeah.
Not the Premier League one. He came at the end of the season. He scored a lot of goals. Most of the goals came in the last third of the season. When he comes off the bench, he impacts games. But you're looking at Sonny Perkins, Mateo Joseph, Joffrey, like surely they're more in the thinking. But I don't know. It might be one that Farke suggested. I'm not sure. But yeah, we have to get. It is a lot of money, but if we get them right and they work, we'll reap the rewards. So yeah.
They have to make a statement, don't they? They've made a statement with the manager, and I think it really makes sense for them to pod out this cash. I know it's like me saying just pod out like 50 mil plus, but the rewards. Do you know what I mean? If you can get the squad he wants and we can get up like we were saying, then why not?
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, we keep saying that these seem sensible. Like the 49ers have made sensible decisions so far. The manager makes perfect sense. Like it wasn't the manager that I wanted, but as I said before, it made logical sense. It was a data-driven, smart decision. You can nearly bet your house on it. You'd have a reasonably good season with him. 100% makes sense, and I get it. And then you look at the change that would be made behind the scenes, and again, they make sense. We had a year where Jesse Marsh took a year to get an assistant manager that he wanted. Farke's come in with his whole team ready to go. Again, simple, sensible kind of approach to everything. Come with your team, come ready to go. And then you look at the names that we mentioned of the potential incomings. And again, you're like, yeah, proven entities in this division could step up. They're players that probably lower half, mid-table Premier League clubs would look at to bring these players in if they were the right price. I know Ryan Manning has been looked at by Premier League sides as well, and Leeds had been linked with him before the end of the season anyway. So it was a possibility if Leeds had stayed in the Premier League. It was still a move they were going to make was for Ryan Manning. So there is a potential, this project, Chris, that you mentioned, that these players could step up then into the Premier League next season. Do you think the caliber of players we're talking about here have the ability to do this over 2 seasons if they were to get into the Premier League at first go?
I think for a lot of these players, that'll be part of the equation. Yeah, for sure. Part of the recruiting. They're going to be looking at, obviously not just this season, but do they have potential? Which is why, you may get some older player, maybe 1 or 2, but I would say they're probably going to go more on the youth side, but proven, but young, that 25, 26. And it'll be interesting because I'm looking at, Cine and Nanto and Somerville and Harrison. I like Reuter on the wing, like where I want to see him. But, if you lose those 3, that will hurt. That'll leave a mark. Yeah. So beyond the 9 and the 10, maybe even, I don't know who else in the squad right now that could fill the other wing role if you lose all of them. So I'm hopeful maybe they'll keep at least one of the 3 of them. But that's another spot that we're going to need to look at.
Yeah. Well, as you say, if we can keep those players, we don't need to look at replacing them, and bringing in more bodies that we haven't been linked with just yet and more recruitment needed. But and we'll talk about that just before we wrap up, because we're heading towards the hour mark now. But we'll wrap up with this, and it's the news that came out again through Phil Hay that the retentions that Leeds are planning, and that's Tyler Adams, Willie Gnonto, and Jack Harrison. Apparently, Leeds are going to do everything within their powers to try and convince the 3 players to stay for another season. Kate, there's a question I want to put you, but I'm going to load this question up. These players were partly responsible for us getting relegated. Do you want to see them at the club next season? And do you feel that if they did stay, they'd make a big impact for us, or would we be looking at another year like last year with them? How do you feel about that, Kate?
Love it. I love how you loaded that, Joe. So look, I really passionately believe that a lot of the guys that played for us, well, not a lot of them, a handful of the guys who played for us last season weren't responsible for us going down. I think the fact that we had, 4 different coaches, 4 different playing styles, the club was an absolute mess from top to bottom. And we're talking about relatively young guys here, So I think, Gnonto regressed. I've said it many times. He didn't know what he was supposed to be doing. Tyler Adams was injured, so we can't blame him. And Cine, a lot of injuries. Jack Harrison, his inconsistency for me, I wouldn't mind if he went, to be honest with you. I think he's sort of had his day at Leeds. I think he needs a new challenge personally. But in terms of Adams and Gnonto, I think they would make a massive impact to us next season if we can keep them.
Yeah. Lockie,
So-
how important do you think that it is for Leeds to keep these players, or is it a case, as Kate said, we can possibly move one or two of them off and still be okay?
See, this is controversial, and I'll explain myself. But I wouldn't be that upset if we lost Adams, right? And that's purely not based on his ability. I think he was brilliant for us when he played last year. Don't get me wrong, 100%. But purely based on one system, Farke's number 6, which would be Tyler Adams, has a fairly simple role: sweep everything up, sweep the ball up, give it to the guy, give it to the 8, or give it to the fullbacks. That's their role. If you bring a player like, I forget his name, Masengo, or even a Hamer, they can do that. If you can get 20 to 25 million for Adams, that pays for 2 or 3 transfers. That's my only reason why I think, not that it's replaceable, because I'd love him to stay, don't get me wrong. But in terms of those players there, I think you can get the most for him, and he can be replaced based on the system. Having said that, if he stayed, I think there's an argument of captaincy. I think it's a weird one, isn't it? Because you've got to take value and how they work in a system as well. But with Nonto, I just think he's so good on the wing, in a position where it's vital in the Farke system that the wingers are direct, and not always exactly that. He tear up the Championship. Jack Harrison again, yeah, I'm looking at the system. I think you can get good value for him. I think he can be replaced. Not his ability, but just based on the system and the value. And some of the other Sinister, I just love him to bits. I think he's so good, just injury prone. So I don't know. I think if the value's right and we have targets in mind that can do a good job at this level, we spoke about Hamer, we spoke about Masengo, a few in that position, I'd be all right with it. But I'd still love him to stay.
Yeah, it's
the
thing with Cini is he seems to get injured when he gets kicked. And in the Championship, he'll get kicked a lot.
Yeah.
Which means he could be injured a lot.
And actually, I was going to say as well, I've just done Rutter for me will be a winger, and I think he's going to tear it up. Based on is it Odell Hernandez, who was at Norwich, who had a similar style before he joined Norwich to Rutter, so I think that'll work.
I think Farke will like him. Chris, from an American standpoint, Tyler Adams has well, he's the USMNT captain. You've got a competition coming up in a year's time. And I could be wrong here. Fulham, player's name escapes me. Fulham had a player last year, went down with them, stayed. Tim Ream. Yeah. Tim Ream. He stayed. Didn't really affect his international prospects with America and managed to bounce back into the Premier League. Do you think with Adams that's something that he would consider doing, or is a move likely for him just from a captaincy point of view from the American national team?
I don't think it has any implications for his national team status at all. He's already, he was named the national team player of the year last year. So he has open communication with all the coaches, and they'll know, if he stays with the team, they'll know why. So yeah, I don't think that's the issue. The one thing I don't know about his injury. I think that might be the wild card here. And if Leeds is willing to again be patient and let him, I don't know the severity of that. He hasn't trained or anything with the national team, so they follow them a lot over here in the States, and they got a lot of eyes on them, and he's not been seen at all. So I don't know what's going on with him and that injury. So if he may need to stay another year just to get back to 100%, and he may not play as much, or maybe he's really fit and he's ready to go, and he may be late in the transfer market too. He could go later.
Yeah. It's a longer window this year as well. It's open.
Yeah, some teams may just be waiting to see what happens, and then he could be one that gets picked up later. But yeah, I agree with Lockie. As long as there's a plan, if they have other targets, they can get money for him. I think he'll go, and I think they'll kind of demand that. I think that's where you'll see. I think there's probably a handful of players that they'll play hardball to make sure they get a return on them. They're not just going to let them go.
Yeah, but they've got long contracts as well. Like he's still got 4 years. He signed a 5-year deal or 4-year deal at Leeds. So minimum, he's got 3 years left on his deal at Leeds. So Leeds don't have to sell. They're not in a position where they need to. Club doesn't need money, so they're not in a position where that financial fair play. We seem to be okay as well. So there's no need. And if we get out of the EFL in one go, then the profit and sustainability stuff won't apply until we go back into it. Chris, are you in the same boat with Harrison as well? Do you think it's a case of if you can get if a decent fee comes in from him, he could be replaced, or are you on this side of you should try and keep Adams, Nanto, Sinisterra, and Harrison at all costs?
Yeah, unfortunately, with the other contracts that we have, I think you have to. I think, him and Adams, like, you have to get a couple players sold.
Mm.
I don't know if they're going to take that much of a loss. But really, Adams and Harrison are probably the two most valued players as far as what we could get back.
Yeah.
So maybe Sinisterra, but the injuries. So yeah, I think, again, you can get money back for them. And you have got players fill the role. Do it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Real briefly, real quick, just in terms of the business that relegated teams have done so far. Southampton haven't done anything. Leeds have sold one. They've arguably brought in one with Louis Perry from Aberdeen, who will more than likely go into the 21 side, who he looks like he's going to be a very good addition. He's super talented. 50-something goals last season in all competitions in Scotland, which is incredible. Celtic wanted him as well. That's the only one we've done. You look at Leicester, they bought Harry Winks, Connor Cody, and then I'm confused about one of them because I didn't hear about it and I looked at transfer market. Ayoze Perez seems to have been sold by them to Betis and then loaned back to them for a season.
Right.
Or the other way around. It doesn't really. Yeah, he was there and he wasn't. Now he is again. But anyway, they spent about 20 million and they've brought in 46 million from selling Madison, but they've cleared out. They've sold Madison is gone, Tielemans is gone, Soyuncu is gone, Perez, that's the one. Apparently he's gone to Betis on free, but then is on loan at Leicester. Don't understand it. Amate is gone, Mendy is gone, Bertrand is gone, and Tete is gone. So they've lost 8 players so far out. They brought 3 in. Kay, are you happy with what you're seeing so far that we could be okay in and amongst these guys, or do you think we need to do some serious business to compete with them?
Do you know what? I am actually, because for me they've gone for names instead of looking for picking out real quality that can play to a system like we are clearly doing, even though we haven't got much time. We kind of look as if we're going to be making really thoughtful appointments and signings. So for me, they just look to me as if they've gone out and bought Harry Winks and Connor Cody. Really, who are they the best fit? What system are they going to be playing in? There's a lot of unknowns there. And I think I don't know. I'm happy. I like the slow and steady kind of approach that we're sort of seem to be taking, rather than rushing into reactive signings. So I'm pretty happy with that. I know the favourites to go up, but I'm happy. It doesn't worry me.
Good.
Is Harvey Barnes going to stay there? Is Harvey Barnes?
He's been linked with Newcastle.
Yeah, I would imagine he's going
to be shocked if he stays. And also, I'm glad to see the back of him because he scores against everything he plays against us. So I'd be happy to see Harvey Barnes go for anybody in a different division.
Ian Acho as well. He's linked to move away.
Yeah. There's still a few who could leave Leicester as well. Lucky overall, just looking at how things are lining up coming into next week, which could be a busy week. Are you confident, comfortable, and happy?
Yeah, you know what? There's always a thing that we're always behind, but I think the manager took a bit longer than we expected, but I don't think we're behind at all. We've not actually lost many players yet, and we still could. Don't get me wrong. Like in a few weeks' time, we could have lost all of them. But right now, I think we're losing the players we'd expect to lose. But there's definitely conversations with Farke and Adams talking about whether he wants to stay. So if you can just keep on to some of them, whereas Leicester seem to be losing all of them. Like I said, Ian Acho, imagine him in the Championship, he'd tear it up. He's going apparently. So. Yeah, and Southampton are fairly quiet, I think. They brought in Charles from Man City today. So he was a good player, don't get me wrong, but that's not their entire team, is it?
A slight track on this, because this is an interesting one. Southampton decided last year to do a similar thing that Leeds did. They went down the Red Bull model. They went buy young, potential, and then sell big. That was the plan. And it got both of us relegated. Pretty much every team that followed the Red Bull model went down or struggled when they adopted it. The thing I don't understand was Southampton seems to do the exact same thing again with Shea Charles. Shea Charles will be a very good player. He looks like he's a very talented young player, but he's a young player who's only had under 21 games. He's had the odd bench appearance for the first team, but nothing hasn't had a breakthrough. So they seem to be doing the exact same thing again, which I don't know, especially on the Championship, is the wisest of moves.
No, yeah. The thing is, like, obviously, like These City youngsters just tear it up anyway, don't they? You see him every year, but of course he's not going. He's essential in terms of midfielder. You know, you need players around him with experience, and they don't seem yet to be doing that. Maybe they're waiting like us. Maybe they've been patient. But at the moment, I think we're all right. I think we look pretty good. I do want to see players next week, just one or two. I'd be happy then. Just keep seeing them come in, some leave. But right now, Farke's in. He's getting rid of players he don't want, talking about players they want in, good names. So I think we're in a good place personally, yeah.
Chris, going to next week, comfortable, confident, happy?
Yeah, for sure. I like what Kate said a lot. I think it gives me more confidence when it's slow and steady. They're thoughtful and thorough versus right now we're just buying a bunch of players. That doesn't seem like a good strategy to me. So
Yeah.
Cool, folks. Thank you very much, as always, for your time. It's a Friday evening, so I really appreciate you guys jumping on. And if you want to follow these guys, Chris, you'll get Chris on Twitter at ChrisFox75. You can catch him there. Kate is at Leeds Bird Rants on YouTube, and I will link herself and Lockie's down in the description. Chris's Twitter handle will be there as well. And then Lockie, if you want a tactical analysis, there is as we said, a Daniel Farke breakdown video there for you to check that out as well. And I'll link Lockie's page below as well. Folks, thanks very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And everyone watching and listening, I will see you soon, and I'll talk to you soon. So thanks for tuning in. Bye.